Oh,
Good evening, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome to another episode of Album Listen Challenge. This is where two of our panelists have challenged each other with albums that they have not heard. They may be in their wheelhouse. They may be completely outside of it. We'll see what we've got tonight, because tonight, Alex Kaluzny and Jeff Young have challenged each other with albums. They will be talking a bit about what they expected, what they expected out of the record before they listened to it. Then they'll tell us about the record, and then they'll score it. The album will be scored on artwork, 0 to 5. The album flow of the music, 0 to 5. The musicianship and band and the melody, 0 to 5. Accessibility, 0 to 5, which means how easy was it to listen to or to get into? Not, could I find it in a record store? Let's not go there, okay? And then finally, their overall rating, 0 to 5, for a possible 25 points. And it really doesn't matter because... I've already scored 25 points for mine, so the record's broken, so who gives a shit? So, without further ado, let's let our panelists start here. I'm going to go, I believe, with Alex Kaluzny, your album that Jeff challenged you to.
So I have Holly McNarland's Stuff. No, I didn't grab a bunch of her stuff on a one-night stand and keep it in my room and then return it to her. I will start with that atrocious album cover behind you, though. That was a straight up 2 for me. And especially seeing her own dog's rear end on the back of the album cover, I'm surprised it's not a negative 2. But number 2 seems to be the theme once you see the dog's ass in the back of the album cover. So, yeah, that got a straight up 2 on for me. That's about the only thing that got a 2 on this album for me, though. I'm going to be a little bit of a harsher grader in the sense that it takes a lot to get a 5 out of me. But just diving right into it for me, I went 2 for the art. Talking about the flow of this album, I was kind of surprised the first time I heard it, not really knowing where I was going with this. It knocks out the 2 singles right away. And then it immediately goes into things that are, especially when you get into Porno Mouth and Water, it kind of went along the same track and got a little soft down. Soon as it hit Coward and went fully down, you started getting more meaning out of the songs and definitely slowed up its tempo. So I thought the flow was actually pretty good. Musicianship, I gave it a 4. I loved her vocal range. I loved the background music to it with the guitar, in the different melodies they were able to perform, and accessibility. This is music I've listened to. I love the Canadian scene, so getting this recommendation was almost like Jeff kind of teeing me up with a one-timer, putting it across the slot. I just had to finish it,
and I would do that too.
Yes.
Which is sad because I'm going to take your shot and I'm going to take your pass and probably shoot it into the corner. So you did all that work for nothing.
I'll go get it.
But I will say, yeah, I mean, it was right in my wheelhouse. It's stuff that it's similar to what I've listened to. So I thought the accessibility was a 4 for me. An overall score, I gave it a 4 out of 5 on that. So I gave it a total of 18.
Very nice.
It was really just the artwork that gave it any sort of knock. I didn't find a 5 out of it, but I was like, overall, I listened to it and I was like, this is something I'm actually kind of glad to listen to again. Am I going to pull it off my shelf and say, this is another go? I don't know if I will, but at the same time, if I hear it, I'm definitely gonna be like, oh, hey, that's Holly McNarland. I like that. It was good. So yeah, I put it in that wheelhouse. So my first thought, and it really kind of kicked in as soon as the album got to The Box and UFO. After hearing the lyrics that she was singing, that she had wrote, I went, man. At first, I definitely thought she sounded like Alanis Morissette, and I'll stand by that. Then it just sounded like Alanis Morissette was singing Matthew Good's lyrics. And then I started looking up Holly McNarland a little deeper, and that's when I realized
Matthew Good is what made me
massive connection.
Recommending that to you.
Has a massive connection to Matthew Good. So the lyrics were like listening to a female Matthew Good. That's how I took that, especially when UFO hit. That's when I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's pretty spot on. So yeah, I was impressed by that part, to where that really felt like it was something that I liked. And I was telling Mark earlier in the week, Jeff, I was listening to 94.9, the station I usually have on in the background, and they do the 90s at noon. And then I didn't, half the time I don't know half the songs, because this is when they'll pull from the archives a bit. And at the end of one of them, they go, and that was Holly McNarland. I go, hey, I'm listening to that album for the upcoming challenge. Shit. or to one of her albums. I don't think it was anything from that. But yeah, that was just kind of like, that was my run in for the week, where I was like, oh, there's a little reminder. Yeah, when it came to Holly, like, it was really the connection there. Her connection to the Tea Party surprised me. I can't imagine her doing background vocals. I feel like again, that's where the Alanis comes in. I thought she was such a forefront voice. Like, there's such a range that she can hit, where she can sound angsty. She can pull from the heart a little bit on the emotion. I don't know. Like, it's really just, I don't know. I'm struggling for words on this one. I was impressed, but I just, now I want to do a deeper dive, which I think is really what was mission accomplished here. Especially trying to see what influences. I think that's where I'm getting at. I want to hear what detail she adds to her backing vocals and other songs, and not just what she's put out as an album. But it makes sense. She's a great Canadian. So to that.
Jeff, do you have anything why did you send in
No, it's
this
funny
record?
because like I mostly picked Holly McNarland for you because I was like, oh, let's just pick a female. But it was really thinking of Matthew Good. Like, I was thinking, oh, what would be in your wheelhouse? I don't want to give you such a challenge that you're like struggling to like it. I just like wanted to find something I thought would be something you would be like appreciate, hopefully like, but had never heard. And like Matthew Good is like the singer that made me think of Holly McNarland. So it's kind of funny that you said that.
So Jeff and myself and my wife, we were able to see Holly. She came to town on a very, very dangerous ice storm night.
I'm going to interrupt you on that story real quick. That was the other thought I had. You just reminded me of. When I got done with half the album, the first listen, I went, I would love to hear this live. That was the other thought I had listening to this.
Well,
This
I
would
have
sound
it if
damn
you
good.
I have it if you want it.
Now back to what you're saying.
She did a live recording that had some things on it. And so we saw her at the Trough. I don't even think we were supposed to drive there. It was a ridiculously evil ice storm. And what was it? Maybe 30 of us there, Jeff? 50?
But God damn it, we had tickets.
Yeah, damn right. Front row, we sat down, which usually doesn't happen at the Trough. It's usually standing room for rock venue. And a woman by the name of Dana Manning opened up. She's also Canadian. She's been in a couple of bands in Canada, and she's also a music teacher in Canada. You can follow her on Facebook, Twitter. Both ladies are on there. But when Holly came on, we already knew what was coming. This is 3 albums deep. Well, an EP and 2 records deep when she came to Buffalo. And the highlight of the evening is always the cover of Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight. She challenges the man, the legend, in her delivery of it. It's haunting, and her
That's
voice
cool.
in live is like it was. If I think Jeff's comment was, it's like she's singing right through me. Although he was a couple beers, he was a couple hundred beers deep, but whatever.
I could honestly see that though, because like I said, there's parts of her songs that have the 90s theme to it in my head of where's the grungy angst, the anger emotion,
Yes.
where you get a little rougher with your vocals. But this album also had a mix of that, where you got this side out of her where there was the emotion, the true vocals, the really fine. It's like comparing silk to sandpaper at times.
Confidence and freedom.
Sandpaper has a job, and it gets it done, but it's rough.
Mhm.
And those
Yeah.
vocals can do that. And then there's other times where you just need to have silk on you and put you to sleep, and it puts you in the right mode where you're comfortable, and her voice can do that.
Well, you could see the evolution of this woman, okay, from what she was to what she had become. My wife and I saw her a second time with the band Shay in a college in somewhere in Canada. And she had had her first child, and it was a different atmosphere, a different Holly McNarland. And since then, it's been a slightly different Holly McNarland with albums like Chin Up Buttercup and I remember the last one, Half Run, something Run. I can't, sorry, don't remember. But
She didn't sing in the air tonight when we were there, did she?
Oh yeah, oh
I
yeah.
can't remember that.
Sorry, brother. You were drinking good. You were doing it good. You're getting it done. You do remember telling her that you would. She said, "You got to play me on radio." He said, "Done, done, and done." You don't remember that? No.
I don't remember.
These are the olds, I guess. This is why I'm here to remind everybody how much fun live shows can be. I will say this. I believe so far she's the most underrated rock vocalist in the history of Canada. Her that album is immensely good for its time and for it to get the play it did and still not get the attachment it did. It still boggles my mind. But then again, Matthew Good sits in that realm too.
Yeah. Well, but he's not like he's not impressive vocally. He's very nichey. When I listened to this album, especially as my intro to her, said this belongs in this era. It fits things I've heard in this era. Why the hell is this not more popular like other things in this era?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, well, I'm glad you liked it. I was hoping so. A lot of people that know me and have been around me have tasted that record and then some. So I'm glad that you liked it.
Hopefully it's better than what her dog tasted on the album cover, because that
yeah,
would be
well, the first EP is called Sour Pie, and that's not a good looking cover either. She did a much better job on Home Is Where My Feet Are. That's a great. I implore you to dig deeper. The follow-up record is immensely good, and a little bit deeper in songwriting and melody, and the angst has been toned a bit into better and with better production. That album does suffer from some production.
That was her first, so
yeah. So, Jeff,
did you ever see any of her videos? She has music videos.
I think because I do it through YouTube, and
there's the one where she's like a marionette.
The first two played as videos, and I want to say one of them, the dog in the album cover, was actually in the video.
I think the one where she's a marionette is Elmo. That's the one.
Okay. Yeah, Elmo. She plays him.
I didn't pay attention fully to the video. I was more focused on doing that. So
I think that outfit, that song Elmo is by far, if you're looking at her in the cover and her look and her demeanor, that pins it and nails it to the wall. I mean, she was angry, and more than I think probably Alanis for Jagged Little Pill. So that'd be my opinion. Listen, Holly, if you're listening, whatever, I'd love to interview you, because my wife and I think you're the shit, but I'd love to ask you why the album cover, those kind of things, and what you're doing now, and why can't we get an album? But then again, maybe it's not your thing anymore. But we're grateful for what it was.
Holly,
Jeff,
you do you.
Yeah, you do you. I'll do me. Next thing you know, I'll be doing something different than this. Jeff, what album did Mr. Kaluzny send to you from the youth of America?
The album name is Trauma, which I think is a good name.
Yeah.
And IPrevail is the band. This is their second album, right, Eric?
This was, yes.
Alex, okay. Yeah, so thankfully, I think Alex did the same thing I did, pick something he thought I would be kind of in my wheelhouse, like and I do. It's good. It's funny. The first thing I think of when I look at the album art, and it is, I think, reinforced when I get into music, is this, to me, is like something you'd expect to hear in a video game. And maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know, play a ton of video games, but maybe I'm guessing they probably are in some video games. But yeah, I'd say I'd give the art definitely a 3.5, maybe.
You guys are doing decimals. God damn it! Just a
Well,
3 or a 4,
One
please.
one thing
We'll go
I'll
with
say,
3.
one thing I'll say
Okay.
on the art that they did with this, and they kind of carried it into their last album, is they did a really good job of doing a continuation of really cool vinyl based around the artwork throughout the album and different kinds of mismatches of the colors of the two album covers. So yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely, like, this band, I would definitely put onto, like, I would like add the IPrevail channel to like my Pandora, so I can just haphazardly encounter more IPrevail, just without even thinking about it. But yeah, I haven't listened to any other albums, but it's good. Like a lot of the songs in some ways are similar, but also had their differences. Like I'm not an expert in all the songs. I couldn't tell you which ones I even like the best, but I definitely like it, and I'll definitely listen to more of it.
So
But-
we need, for the people out there, what do they sound like? What is their genre?
I mean, they sound kind of like a better version of 30 Seconds to Mars, and kind of in the same space, maybe a little more electronic or technical in musicianship versus Nothing More. But yeah, they definitely get at least a 3 or 4. Probably I'd go 4 on musicianship. They got a lot going on.
Yeah, they're very complex that way. I know they're double vocals. One thing I liked about them is Brian is an extremely good clean vocalist, and Clean Dirty is, or a little bit more of the who's more the singer, who's more of the
And you can still
Growler.
understand when he
screaming.
screams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and he's not the one that does it. So Eric's the one that goes on the unclean vocals, and Brian's on the clean, and he kills it with the clean. And then I can find my judgment on an unclean vocalist is, do you bring out the emotion of what you're trying to get across in the song, and can I at least somewhat understand you? And I think they do a great job on both for me. So
so what were the other categories I'm ranking? So I did art, musicianship. What were the other ones?
Flow.
What?
Like
the
Whoa.
lady from Progressive.
Did it start?
I mean,
did each
honestly, to
song-
me, you could put the songs in any order. It's just as good as an album. I don't,
Okay.
the flow is fine.
All right, so you're scoring that in the average 3.
I'll just go
Or
3
4.
on that.
Okay. And then it would be, what is the accessibility? How easy is it to listen to, get into it?
Pretty easy. I mean, for me, it fits what I like. But there's enough transitions and changes in the music that keep your attention, even if you're just listening to it in the background. It's like
Mhm.
grabs you a couple times, which is good.
Your overall rating.
Overall rating, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with a 4, just because I was pleasantly surprised. Like, you kind of maybe 2-3 songs, you think, oh, okay, I get an idea what this album is like. And even though like a lot of the songs to me are a little bit similar, I would not certainly call them the same. Like, it just keeps your interest. So that's why I'm giving it a 4.
So that's I believe it's an 18 as well, except for your 3.5 bullshit.
Mark's
So-
rounding up.
Yeah, I'm round. So
We round down on this channel.
okay, well, geez, no. This is my favorite of theirs. Although Power kind of would probably come a close second, I think.
True Power was very, very close to this album.
I listened to Trauma more than True Power. I can't remember the first record. The first record to me felt like an homage to Linkin Park. Here's my thing on the clean and dirty. I like the fact that Alex is calling it that. I never thought about calling it that.
I think the true definition is clean and unclean. That's what it is.
Well, if that's what they're doing in the music industry, it's basically, for me, it's you're singing, you're screaming, you're growling. All right. And I love it when the scream means something. Sometimes with these bands, they're doing it for production and not for value of the song. Not always, but sometimes I feel like it's overkill, right? Like just, well, this song better have it, or they think of that as the bridge, and that's not the bridge. Or it's their version of a drop, right? So who does it well? Filter does screaming really well.
Breaking
right?
Benjamin, all right.
Yes, yes, I would say that's come a long way for them because but the production, I'm always blasted by the production of this band. I forget who produced it and stuff, but it's really tight. I mean, it obviously, I don't know much. Like if Daniel Lanois was sitting here, or Tom Lord Alge, or Chris Lord Alge, they would tell you all this jazz stuff about it, whatever, how it was done. It's compressed. I'm pretty sure, pretty tough. It seems compressed, but the way it comes off, it's big, it's bombastic. If you're going to name your album Trauma, they did a marvelous job of bringing that right out. They didn't shit around with it. So,
Alex, have you seen them live?
So yes, when this album came out, I saw them 2 months after the album actually came out. And I was dragged along by a buddy of mine, and I had listened to the album. I was like, yeah, it's good, whatever. And then I went and saw it live, and I went, holy shit, this band is good. And they did not miss a beat live. Like the sound, and again, that's where the clean unclean comes in, is you feel into it. And you were right. Like when you said soundtrack type album.
Video game?
No, ironically, well, no, but it's been a soundtrack for me in the sense that one, this and True Power have both come out where when I listen to the lyrics in some twisted way, they relate to something I was going through at the time. So I've always had a personal attachment to both those albums. But
sounds like Exhibit A.
But I will also say too, like this album and True Power, what they both accomplish is, like, for me, it's game day. On a game day for me, I'll flip one of these albums on when I get up in the morning, drive to the rink, take a shower, whatever, and it's just playing on the speaker. Like these albums, I'll just play them right through, and only one or two songs, and like, it doesn't fit the mood of the day. The rest, it's game on. And for some reason, it kind of intertwines everything for me. Personal life, game day, all of it just coming to a head right there. Because there's a couple songs that'll make me want to run through a wall. I know off this album, Gasoline, sure as shit made me do it, and was also the first time I found myself in a mosh pit. And I'm happy these glasses still exist. Because needless to say, that pit opened up pretty damn quick, and I went, well, we're here. Let's go for it. And it was a moment. So
there's something that can't be undone.
No. But it was a hell of an atmosphere. The other thing too with this album, I know on track 4 on Rise Above It, so Justin Stone, that rapper that was featured on it, was opening up for them in that show too. So he came out and did the actual verse that was his on there too. And he was the guy that I got into him for a little bit, and then he just didn't seem like himself, and he was kind of going all over the map. And then he stopped putting things out in clumps and started putting singles out, and then he'd pull certain things at random times, and people be like, where the hell is this song? And then you couldn't find it, and then I just lost track of him after that and just pretty much gave up on him. But he was good for a while, and yeah, like they kind of tipped me off in that realm. And I know that these guys got popular from the standpoint of commercial, just for covering a Taylor Swift song in Blank Space, which is actually just kind of a fun listen, because that's kind of tipped me off to the whole softer pop feel, but hard rock bands playing it. Like there's another band that did a hard rock version of Roxanne. And then there's been a few others. I'll have to look for a whole array of those I know from weird covers that have turned into hard rock ones. But yeah, these guys got on that train, I think, right at the end of that first album, or it was on that first album. And that's where, but then when they came out with this and True Power, it was unreal. And a mutual friend who I used to be in a fantasy hockey league with back in the day, he went to school with one of their guitarists too. So I had a small into knowing who the band was early. And that really also tipped me off to them. So.
All right. Well, on another note, in 2 weeks, the Kuligowskis will be exchanging albums. We'll let Alex host again since he enjoyed it so much. We will not say what albums my wife and I are exchanging. I will say it's going to be much more difficult for her because I know everything she listens to. So this is she better get her game face on.
If she's smart, she'll go with country.
She doesn't listen to a whole lot of country, so I don't think that's going to be the case. But we'll see. Maybe she's going to throw me something. We'll see. I got one for her, and it's going to be a doozy. So it's time to get nasty on this channel.
Thank God. Can I also host the vow renewal too?
So I want to thank my panelists for participating in this week's album listen challenge. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We're at www.beyondyourradio.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I would love to see some comments. We're not getting any. Then again, maybe there's nothing to comment on. We're just too fucking smart. I don't know.
Holly McNarland, if you're listening, we really want to hear from you.
That's right. Thanks everybody, and happy listening.